Committee on Rules meeting shall come to order. I'd like to ask the clerk to take roll and ascertain that we do have a quorum.
Chairman Respicio,
Present.
Senator Tom Adda, Speaker Wampat, Vice Speaker Cruz, Senator Munoz Barnes, Senator Uggan, Senator Rodriguez, Senator San Nicolas, Senator Underwood, Senator Tony Adda, Senator Torres. Mr. Chair, there is a quorum.
Thank you. So on item 3, I'd like to acknowledge the clerk and her staff for providing these minutes for the Committee on Rules meeting. And before us, we have the COR meeting minutes from November 13, 2015. And if you've already reviewed them, I will entertain a motion that we adopt these minutes subject to correction. Okay, it's been moved. There being no objections, so ordered. The chair will recognize Senator Barnes to provide a continuing update on the document tracking. Our legislative secretary.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, there have been for the last quarter reports on zone changes that have been submitted to the committee. There are also still pending legislative appointments from the governor that has been handed down. There seems to be 3 that are still pending for appointment. So if the committee oversights can just take a look at the list that is provided here to make sure that it gets its due process. And also, no changes. Also, Mr. Chair, the same goes for the rules and regulations. There's still a couple of rules and regulations that have been submitted to this August body that have some timelines, and the next timeline due, the latest timeline due is in the month of February, and one this month.
Okay, thank
So
you.
if they can look to follow through.
Okay, thank you. And that document tracking has always been available on the legislature's website. So
Yes,
thank
sir.
you, Legislative Secretary. I need to back up and entertain a motion that we excuse Senator San Nicolas from this rules meeting.
So moved.
Okay. There being no objection, so ordered. Thank you. On item 5, I would entertain a motion that we ratify the referrals made for bill numbers 208-33 through 228-33, all the attached appointments and resolutions. Thank you. It's been moved, and there being no objections, so ordered. On item 6, I'd like to recognize each of you for motions to place items on the agenda, whether it's a bill, maybe a resolution, or an appointment. And I will begin by recognizing Speaker Wampat. Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to place Bill 208-33. It's on the refinancing of the government's obligation bond for GIF for the leased back schools. I know that Senator San Nicolas is circulating the committee report. And the second is 197-33, and is relative to extending the duties of the Guam Police Department Community Assisted Policing Effort, which is CAPE volunteers, to include them in the supervision of the 12th Festival of the Pacific Arts.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. So on Speaker's motion to place both bills 208 and 197, and she's read the titles, and whatever version is reported out of the committee, if this motion passes, that version will be on the session agenda.
And I also...
Wait, is there no objections? Hearing no objections, so ordered.
And I have 2 individuals to be placed in the confirmation. Dr. G, who is a member of the University of Guam Board of Regents, and Mr. Donovan Brooks, to the KGTF PBS Board of Trustees.
Okay, on those appointments, again, hearing no objections, so ordered. Would you just want to...
Can I also just include, I know
Yeah,
Senator Nicholas
so we
does
don't-
not have any bill to report in, but he has 2 members to be confirmed, Mr. Richard Hamlin to the Alcohol Beverage Control Board, and Ms. Cynthia Cuby to the Guam Board of Equalization.
Okay, also on those amendments to place those nominees on the session agenda, there being no objections, so ordered. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Vice Speaker?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure how many we can has to be placed on the agenda, but on the first round, I'd like 222-33 as substituted, and that's an act to amend 6207, 6207.1, relative to prohibiting bonus pay and mandating proper pay and pay adjustment processing for unclassified employees.
Okay. On the motion to place Bill 222 on the agenda, hearing no objections, so ordered.
If I
Just
have
go ahead and read all the bills that
Okay,
you have, Mr.
all right
Vice
then.
Speaker. Thank
The
you.
second one would be 215, an act as substituted, an act relative to recognizing the successful rehabilitation and treatment of individuals convicted of first offender drug cases between 1995 and 2005. Second chance bill.
Okay, and your third bill?
The third one would be 212-33, an act to authorize the Attorney General the use of funds for experts in federal litigation cases.
Okay, so on the Vice Speaker's motion to place both bills 215 and 212 on the session agenda in whatever version is reported out by the respective committee, hearing no objections, so ordered. Thank you, Mr. Vice Speaker. Anything else?
I don't believe I have any confirmation.
Yes, so he got 222 already, the first one. Yeah. Okay, I would like to recognize Senator Barnes.
Mr. Chair, I don't personally have one, but I'd like to go ahead and just move on behalf of the committee Bill 214-33, which is an act to appropriate the $300,000 from the funds reserved in Section 2 of Public Law 33-19 to Department of Public Works for the repair of the pneumatic bridge towers in anticipation of the 12th Festival of the Certifieds.
Okay.
The committee report is being circulated, and it should be ready.
Thank you. On Senator Barnes' motion, on behalf of Senator Morrison's bill 214, hearing no objections, so ordered. Okay, and I'd like to recognize our Vice Chair, Senator Tom, for a list of his bills and appointments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I would like to move to place Bill 192-33. It's an act to transfer 35 acres of land that was reserved for the Department of Education for the Estumbo Elementary School, and to transfer that property back to the Chamorro Land Trust. This 35 acres was initially reserved in Public Law 2218. Estumbo Elementary School was constructed, but it was constructed in a different area. So this leaves this particular 35 acres as not needed any longer. I'll go ahead and continue.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, thank
And
you.
then I have Bill 193-33, which is something similar also. It was a land reserved under Public Law 2218, reserving 35 acres to build Estumbo Middle School. That school has already now been built, but it was built in a different location, and so therefore they don't need this reservation anymore. Third bill is Bill 194-33, and it's a similar act to transfer 38 acres in Agana Heights, which was originally reserved for the Department of Education to build a school. However, the area really is more suitable for agricultural leasing and to some extent for some residential. Now, for these three bills, we did have a meeting with Department of Education, and they have agreed that the schools for the Estumbo Elementary and the middle schools, that property is no longer needed. The one in Agana Heights, they agree that that area really would not be suitable for building of a school. Then I have Bill 195, which is to transfer. It was to transfer lot 3470, which was reserved by Public Law 2218. Public Law 2218 reserved 117 acres for various agencies, some of the property for DOE, some for the foster home, some for public health facilities and whatnot. But the agencies have since then concluded that really this lot 3470, which is located in Asinan, Ordot, is really more suited for some residential and agricultural leasing. So as a result, for example, Chamorro Land Trust property was used in Barrigada Heights to build a foster home, making now the reservation of property in Asinan for a foster home really unnecessary. Again, there was property set up in there reserved for DOE, and DOE has agreed that really it's not going to be suitable to build a school in there. So that's what Bill 195 does, and you know, quite frankly, I know that there's going to be a need to build another laboratory and things, and you know, there's lands reserved in 3470 for those things, but you're just not going to build in there. It is just not suited for that. So those three. So that will be to then return all these properties back to Chamorro Land Trust. And finally, the fifth bill, which is Bill 180-33. This bill proposes to transfer back property, which I believe is about maybe 2 acres. If you recall, across from JFK High School, there was the old vocational rehab car wash. So that property up to the edge of Kmart really, by law, should go back to the Chamorro Land Trust. So Bill 180 proposes to transfer by law now, just making it very clear that that's going to go back to Chamorro Land Trust, and to authorize the commercial leasing of that lot. It does not cover the adjacent lot, which DISIT claims, you know, has rights to, so it doesn't touch that at all. This is just that piece on the east side where the old car wash used to be, over towards the boundary of Kmart. Those, Mr. Chairman, are the 5 bills I would like to put on, plus the appointment of Mr. David Matanani to the Chamorro Land Trust Commission.
Okay, regarding the first motion for the 5 bills, 192, 193, 194, 195, and 180, are there any discussions? I see Senator Barnes wants to be recognized. Senator Barnes.
Since Mr. Chair, just like to note to this body that in reference to Bill, I do believe it's the Bill number 195, which asks that the 117 acres go to the Chamorro Land Trust, which is in the Asinan property. There has been recent introduction of Bill 225-33 by myself that would ask that the portion that is reserved for the Department of Public Health in that Chalampago area for a emergency home shelter, they'd ask that a substitution be made, and that the lot, that a parcel that's behind public health right now be exchanged so they can build an emergency housing shelter. So there is a bill that exists. So I have no problems with all the other bills, but like to note for the record that there is a bill that will be heard on January 26th that would encompass a portion of 195. So
We'll take that for informational purposes only, and as we know, we can't discuss any other bills that's been introduced when we're discussing a bill that's before us. And so right now, unless Senator Barnes, you have an objection, there's a motion to place Bill 192, 193, 194, 195, and 180 as reported out by the Committee of Jurisdiction, and whatever versions reported out would be on the agenda. We could either vote for these bills as one motion, or you can ask that this be bifurcated. There's no other motions to include bifurcating this motion.
Mr. Chair, if
Senator
I may
Aguirre?
request that the 195 be bifurcated, only because once we transfer these properties to Chamorro Trust, it stays in the trust. So if in fact the chair of the housing would like to perhaps explore the option of dividing that parcel of property slightly so that in fact it can accommodate another requirement in the community, then I certainly hope that the two sponsors of each legislation can be able to discuss that. That's my only concern.
And I appreciate that, Mr. Chair. I do think that if there's a way that can be worked and looked up, but I wanted to note for the record, so no, it's blindsided. Not that I have an objection to it, I understand what right, but I do know that with 195, Public Health has a desire, they've been working with Chamorro Land Trust, and then, of course, GURA, because they've got the funding to build the shelter, and we know that the homeless population has increased dramatically and that they wanted to work this center out. So that's what's on the floor, and I
there's
don't
a-
have an objection, so,
Then I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay, I was just
So-
going to say there's a motion to bifurcate if there's an objection, but because it's been withdrawn, there's no motion before us other than the motion to place all bills on the agenda. Are there any objections? Hearing no objections, there's the motion to place 192, 193, 194, 195, and 180 passes, and there's nothing that would prevent any other senator from moving forward on any other legislation before, whether it's introduced or yet to be introduced. And those things can also be addressed on the floor. And then the appointment of Mr. David Matanani, hearing no objections, again, to put him on the agenda, there being no objections, so ordered. Okay? Senator Underwood. Okay, thank you, Senator Underwood. Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I move to place Bill 136-33 and Bill 143 and Bill 211 on the session agenda.
Okay, could you just read the titles?
136 is relative to appropriating funds from the fiscal year 2015 Guam Territorial Highway Fund and the unexpended balance of the fiscal year 2015, the Territorial Highway Fund to the Department of Public Works for flood mitigation and other capital improvement projects.
Okay, thank you. And for 143?
143 is to expand the Natasha Protection Act, and Bill 211 is relative to extending the timeline for obtaining exemptions and exceptions for social worker licensure.
Okay, thank you. So on the motion made by Senator Rodriguez to place bills 136, 143, and 211, and whatever version is reported out by the various committees of jurisdiction, hearing no objections, so ordered. And the chair would like to now give an equal opportunity to our other colleagues here in the legislature. Senator Ada. I'm sorry. Why did I get that? Sorry. No, I'm sorry. I'm so excited to recognize members of the minority that I do at the risk of bypassing one of our own. So I'm sorry, Senator Hagen.
We're all part of the legislation.
We
Thank
are.
you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I have one proposal that I would like to place on the agenda, and that's Bill number 125-33 COR, which is relative to advancing compliance with the Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission by designating probation officers of the Superior Court of Guam as uniformed officers and by adding the chief probation to the Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission.
Okay, thank you, Senator Hagen. Yeah. On that motion, in hearing no objections, so ordered. Senator Hagen, anything else? Okay, thank you. Senator Ada, Tony Ada. And Senator, I think, Senator Torres. Okay. Okay. Okay, item 7, open discussion. Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn, subject to the call of the chair. Okay, thank you. Hearing that motion and no objections, so ordered.